boldip.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Bold Inventor Show. I'm JD Houvener, your host, and I'm going to be joined by my co-host Matt Colseth here in just a bit, I hope. If not, that's going to be all right. I'll be driving solo. We do have a guest waiting backstage. She's with Less Barriers. It's a really cool invention. Hoping to get to that here in just a little bit after our intro segment. I'm JD Houvener. I'm owner, founder, patent attorney at Bold Patents, and I'm here to chat with you, inventors, entrepreneurs, business owners. We're live across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube today. So I'm encouraging participation. Any of you watching live, I would love you to ask any questions you've got on your mind. We'll be able to put those as a priority. I've got 6 questions that came in over the week, so we'll get into those in just a little bit. And if you do happen to shoot over a question live, I'll put yours to the top of the list. Quick disclaimer here, a legal notice. It's a live broadcast, but unfortunately, there's no attorney-client privilege. So do not share any confidential information here. Don't share your inventions if you haven't already filed them. But this is a great place to present hypotheticals, patent process questions. We're here to answer give information about, but no legal advice. All right, so that's your legal notice. This broadcast is going to be for up to an hour long. And so if you missed us and you're watching us now after the fact and you want to catch us live, we're here every Wednesday at 1:30 Pacific, and every Wednesday. So join us. We'll be happy to have you. All right, let's get to our questions that came in over the week. We've got Reddit and Quora and Avo.com. Let's see what we got. So this one is on provisional patent. I'll put this in the link here. All right, hi, I'm planning on filing a provisional patent application and have a question. I'd like to know what documents I need to include in my upload, not counting my documents, such as the government docs and such. Okay, I will have to point you to the uspto.gov. They've got a great site for basically what needs to be provided. But what I'll say is when we tell our clients, the most important part of a provisional application is the spec, the specification. That's the written description of your invention, where you disclose and talk about what your invention is. And in a provisional, it's even more important to really explain fully what your invention could end up looking like and what you want to try to protect in terms of additional embodiments, additional versions that you might not have actually prototyped or built yet. Because that way, when you go to market or go to sell your product and you end up changing the materials to, let's say, metal or wood, or the shape changes considerably, but the overall functionality is the same, you'll still have protection for those, I'll call it other embodiments, other ways your invention works. So try to push yourself in the application, do your best to kind of think outside the box, not just with a one version of the invention that you've come up with. That's the best approach, I would say. And with the filing of a provisional patent application, you do get that all-important patent pending, which is important, of course, so that locks in that date to where any inventor files after that point, they will be, second to you. You'll have the first shot at getting the rights for that invention because you filed first. No longer does it matter who actually invents it first. It's a race to the patent office. So thanks for that question. Let's do one on the trademark side. I'll try my best, although we don't have Matt yet on the call. And this one's important, it looks like. Hello, guys. I keep receiving emails from trademark websites saying that someone's willing to take my trademark and register it, but I have the priority to register it first. Is this a scam? Yes. I'm currently pending with my trademark registration at the USPTO. Yeah, sounds super, super scammy. Honestly, you want to make sure that any third party, mailer that you get, if it doesn't have the USPTO or a GOV government website, it's going to be someone looking to make money, right? A for-profit entity, and they're really, really slimy with what kind of wording they put on there about threats or perhaps your payment is due. We've seen lots of different formats of this. It seems to be more prevalent on the trademark side than the patent side. But if you have any questions, do you want someone to look at it, you're more than welcome to reach out to us here at Bold Patents, scan in a copy of the letter, Matt, myself, or one of our teammates will take a look at it, and we'll be able to get you down the road, confirm whether it's a scam or not. Yeah, I saw this question come through on Quora, and it's kind of a high level one here. Oh, so we got Matt just in time. He's in Minnesota time. You made it.
How's it going?
Hey, man. Thanks
Good.
for hopping
Sorry,
in.
I'm calling in from my phone today because Mediacom just let me know that the internet's out for the next hour.
Oh boy, they pulled the plug right during the show.
Yeah, basically like 5 minutes ago, got the text message. Your internet's out. I was like, yeah, I just figured that out.
Goodness. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Well, thanks for jumping in.
Oh yeah, of course.
We just had a question. There's actually 2 or 3 that came in this week about these letters. Someone claiming that, hey, if you don't register it, someone else is going to register it. Stating that someone's willing to take my trademark and register it, but I have the priority to do it first. Scam or not?
Total scam. It's a very successful scam, unfortunately. So we see a lot of clients who get those letters. I get those letters from these fake law firms, and oftentimes clients ask me, like, how can attorneys do this, right? How can they, do this kind of, bait and switch? And the answer is those aren't attorneys. No, unfortunately, these are offshore individuals who are just mining the USPTO for data. Yeah. And looking for opportunities to confuse folks and convince them that their trademark is in jeopardy. So if you get anything from any outside company, not from the USPTO, not from your attorney, it's a scam, right? Yeah. But it's really hard for folks to kind of, even attorneys will send me emails asking, is this legit? Is this fake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it's more likely than not fake.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a service offering.
Totally.
Is this letter real? And then click for a consultation.
Yeah, it's a disgrace. It's terrible. It's very frustrating. As if we didn't need any more problems at the USPTO, right?
100%. 100%. Well, very, very good. I've got one on the patent side. Let's jump to that one here. This is kind of from our Quora group. So the question is, why does the U.S. allow companies to purchase patents solely for the purpose of litigation, even if there's no product associated with it? Well, it's the U.S. of A, baby, and you can sell whatever you want.
Freedom. Just kidding.
Now, there's some policies, right? Hey, this is just business. This is capitalism at its best. Let's dig in a little bit. Some policy reasons. There are some reasons to perhaps set up some boundaries. It is important to consider some of the ramifications of litigation, right? Litigation. If your entity, and these are patent trolls, let's just say it. This is what gave these types of companies bad reputations, is that these are companies that exist solely to threaten, settle, will actually go to court and litigate. And they're not actually making any widgets. They're not really contributing or making anything of value for the world. That doesn't sound good, okay? And so there may be some reasons to put some guardrails around those types of companies. But the truth is, inventors still benefit. And that is why I advocate, I think it's still a very positive thing. It's a win for the inventor. The inventor gets paid because they did all the work, research, effort it might take to develop a new product, a new thing, a new contribution to the field of art, the field of study, and their reward is financial. And so they're going to be incentivized to keep on inventing. Okay, and that's kind of one of the major policy reasons, maybe the policy reason that the patent law was set up.
I think you nailed it right on the head, JD. I think that's right. And of course, a lot of patent owners can't afford to litigate the big guys, right, who rip them off, right? They need the backing of those big law firms who are going to take it on potentially contingent fee. Or, they need that third party who's going to come in, just buy the patent, and then use their resources to litigate. So
exactly.
Either way, it serves the inventor and our society by promoting, the useful arts, right?
100%. And if we didn't allow litigation, my goodness, why get a patent to begin with? You have to enforce your rights. So I think it's challenging, but it is part of the process.
Yeah, it's It's gross, but so is making sausages.
You know what's not gross? Eating sausages.
Eating cooked sausages.
Here we go. We got a lengthy one here. I'm going to try to see if I can get to the heart of this question on this copy paste here. Looks like it's regarding wine. We got a wine question. I have literally only been looking today, but figured I'd ask in case it's obvious. I found that I wanted to name my business on the trademark registry, albeit with it pluralized. Is that it now? Does it literally mean I cannot name a business that? Does it matter that the words are registered under class 33 for wine and mine will most likely be class 25 for clothing?
Yeah, good question. So here it seems like this individual is seeking to register in the apparel class 25, and there's a registration for something almost identical in terms of the naming convention in class 33 for wine or the spirit category.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. So just because there's a registration for wine at the USPTO under a very similar name to your apparel company, that wine registration should not block your apparel application.
Yep.
So I wouldn't have any concerns there, but it is interesting that it's already registered in the wine category and you're trying to register it in the apparel category. I'm curious what the branding is now, right? Because that's not usually how this works. Usually, the apparel category is the one that's just chock full of applications and clients are asking, can I file for wine, if it's registered? So
yeah, they went the other way around.
Went the other way around on this one. But yeah, talk to a trademark attorney, have them do a formal search for you, or at least a knockout search, and they can pretty easily identify, other potential issues.
Awesome answer. I'll do one more each, and we'll head over to our guest who's waiting backstage. All right, let's do this Quora. I love this Quora forum because they've got these high-level meta questions that get me going. Should the U.S. taxpayer benefit from patents that are a result of government grants? Wow. Yeah. Again, another
let's do that.
Let's go for the little guy. Here's kind of my scenarios. I think a classic example is individual bootstrapping entrepreneur needs some help getting the initial prototype built for their magnetic levitation device, which requires huge to-dos, big cost, big area to do testing, right? And it happens to be the university has an interest in this type of technology. It's clean, sustainable. They've got a big lab and a bunch of students excited for it. They both, together with the professor, apply for a grant. And now the license to be able to use this invention goes back to the university. But the university carves out ability for the inventor to go commercialize it privately. That's a win. That's a win for everyone. And so I say you bet that U.S. individual taxpayer should be able to benefit in part because the government got involved, hooked up the testing, got it helped out, and the university benefits as well.
And that's pretty common too, right, JD?
Yeah,
at the end of the day, does the United States own any patent work? Do they own any patents? Do they go around enforcing patents? Your scenario sounds appropriate to mind.
I think you're right. There is a cool little hitch, though. Sometimes inventors hit on a national security, or they'll hit on a topic that the government, the Department of Defense, says, you know what? We're going to actually put a secrecy order on this. Congrats on your invention. We need to make sure that the old government here is in the know before this information gets public. And so those can go on for years. Sometimes if your invention really heads on, say, communications, right? Weaponry, maybe even something more docile that might have AI, cybersecurity, a lot of different aspects where things won't be allowed to be published. So there is kind of the purview. The government does get to put their hands in once in a while. And it really is under the guise of want to make sure everyone's safe and not going to be exposing or publishing inventions that could put the public at risk. So other than that, it's really up to the individual to make it happen. And if they're out there hustling and they get some money from the government to do so, I think they should sure gain financial benefit from that. I don't have any problem with it personally. Okay, last one here for you, and our guest. Hopefully she hangs in. I want to get this last one out because this is about football, and I'm a big football fan. This is about old NFL marks, which I thought was a really cool question.
Cool.
So NFL trademark expiration usage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently designing a video game using strictly defunct teams. And I was wondering if there's anything out there that there'd be some claim of infringement for old, unused NFL teams.
Ooh. I love this question.
I know. I'm trying to think of another name of a team right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like some defunct
Oilers?
NFL team.
Oilers, maybe? The Houston Oilers.
Oh, yeah. They're not around anymore,
Where
are
did they go from the 80s? A lot of weird... well, I guess
certainly a lot of teams have moved around the country.
Maybe the most famous one is like the Redskins recently, right?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that was a trademark issue for years and years and years. That was like the whole scandalous trademark thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
what's your hunch on that? Does NFL retain rights in those now defunct?
Yeah, good question. So in order for them to actually enforce any trademark rights they'd have to have a registration at the United States Patent Trademark Office. So that's where you should start. More likely than not, the NFL does not own these team names. It's going to be owned by the individual organization groups that own the teams themselves.
Okay.
I mean, my hunch is that these names probably are not still registered, but you're going to want to look for each one of them before you do anything about it. If they're not registered, I mean, there's still the opportunity that someone could claim that they have common law rights in the name if they're still using it for those particular products or services.
Yeah.
So I guess ultimately tread carefully, but the policy behind trademark registration and eventual abandonment is that, at some point when these trademarks abandon, you can pick them up and use them however you want, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We want trademarks to be working for us. So if they're not being used, they're, dead weight essentially. So yeah, follow up with an attorney, have them take a look at it. Maybe you have a list of names in mind in particular. Now, what is common in the NFL though is like logo reiteration. So logos change over time. And generally speaking, those teams keep their old registrations alive. So even if they change the logo, they're going to keep the old vintage logo alive.
Okay.
And to do so, they have to claim that they're continuing to use the trademark. So if you noticed in the last couple of years, JD, you have like throwback night.
Yeah, right. That's why?
That's part of the reason why.
Ooh, that's so good.
So, they're not abandoning use of the trademark because they're using it maybe once or twice a year, but they're still using it.
It's so good.
So, someone like me couldn't come along and just say, hey, you've abandoned the trademark. You don't consistently use it. I can use this logo now. And then they'd say, no. We use it. We still, merchandise it. We sell them. They're available for sale. Our players wear them once a year, so we haven't abandoned.
That's cool. That's fun. Yeah, it makes sense now. I'm like, oh yeah, there's the retro outfits and all that. And there's the helmet. Love it. Cool.
Throwback Thursdays.
Throwback Thursday. All right, Matt, you ready to bring on our guest here, Mrs. Schneider? All right, very good. Let's see here. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Schneider.
Hi. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for being patient, hanging out, listening to us banter on about IP, trademarks, and patents for the first little bit.
I like the throwback. That's why they actually are able to use the logos. That's kind of.
I mean, everything in my world's trademark. So that's my excuse for it at least. They probably sell a lot of them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so you are the inventor and owner there of Less Barriers.
Yep. Less
Barriers. And so we talked that. I'd love to hear about the business origin. And the invention itself, which is an invention as well. And I can show off the website for this movable wheelchair tray that you've come up with.
So the background was, my name is Ms. Schneider. I'm from Michigan. I've been married for 22 years. My husband has had MS for 20. He was diagnosed 20. He's really had it for almost 20 and a half years or so. And he's progressed over that time. It's basically a autoimmune disease that attacks your central nervous system. And so he went from a cane to a walker to a wheelchair. And when he was in a walker, he had a tray, he could his own stuff. And then he went to a wheelchair. So we just, bought something, right? Which you're supposed to do, and get the tray. And he'd go up to the refrigerator, get something, and he'd actually have to physically take the tray off to be able to use it, which then you're not using it. So then I would set up like some food or whatever. He'd start eating. He'd watch his, little show. And then all of a sudden you got to go. And well, then you got to backtrack to a table, take everything off, take the tray off, then get to the bathroom. And, when you have those issues, first off, it's not quick once you get in, and you have anxiety. And so then it ended up being another problem. And at that point, we threw the tray out. And so after like 2 years of prototyping, we ended up making this tray, and it's plastic injection molded. So it's like automotive quality, and he uses it and loves it. So that's the main thing. It's made for desktop length wheelchairs. So initially wheelchairs had an arm that went like this. The only thing is when you go up to, let's say, a table, okay, well, you're back here.
Right.
Are you supposed to eat? So what they did is they made like a little small L off from it. And so it actually goes underneath the table. So then a person can actually go up and eat at the table. So that desktop length, it has a very small, very low profile bracket. So it fits on the Invicares, which like the VA uses, and the Drive Cruise 3s, 4s, Sentras, Silver Sports that the Medicare, Medicaid pays for. And it also works with the Medlines and a couple other types of wheelchairs.
I'm going to show off the website here for those on the podcast. Yeah, you'll miss out a little bit, but got a video showing how, fairly simple type of a rectangular tray, but it's got a cup holder there and a couple spaces up top for utensils.
So the other thing is that bracket that it's on, you can actually put that on the left or right side. And you see now, you can't really see it. It actually goes on the side, right, as a side table, but you can also flip it so it's coming towards you. So people understand normally a tray will go like this back and forth. What you can do is flip it up and actually have the tray coming towards you so you don't have food going in your lap. The other thing is if you go down on that website, you can see where you go to transfer up to a couch. And when you go to transfer, there's a picture on there too. You can actually right there, you can actually use it as an end table.
Nice. That's fantastic.
So the fact that you can use it as a side tray or an end table, or that it has pockets on it, there are no knobs. You've seen how easy that is to use. None of that is on the market. You can't use any of it. So this is the only one you can directly go to a restroom. So you're not spending an extra 2 minutes really is a really big deal for people.
Yeah.
Because if you have another problem, that's 45-minute problem. So to go directly in, push it to the side, grab your grab bars and just go, and not have to put your ham sandwich on the floor. It really, for him, gave him a lot of independence. And I actually have done a couple podcasts with some people who have MS. And one was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And he's actually sending it to someone out in Colorado, and she should get it in the next 2 days, we're hoping. And they were thinking about if she likes it, they'll do a podcast on that and using it. So he's like, this is really cool because it's independence, I
was going to ask, if someone's listening now or after the fact and they want to buy one, where do we send them?
My website. That's the only place that tells them.
And you can shop now right on the site. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm trying to get on Walmart right now. So we'll see. And if I can get on QVC, I would love to get on like a home shopping network kind of thing. I think that would actually be the ideal customer, because those are the people at home. Because here's the thing right now, numbers. Right now we have something like 15% of our population who is over the age of 65. And within the next 30 years, that's going to be approaching 30%. And we actually don't really have homes enough for people who have like disabilities. Do you know what I mean? Like having a house is different from having a handicap accessible house.
Sure.
And even apartments. And that was one of the things we discussed with that gentleman who has MS, is that they really don't have, it took them forever when they downsized from a house to an apartment to find an apartment that would allow them to live, right? He has a walker. Sometimes he uses a wheelchair. His wife has some health issues as well. And so, for people to be able to stay in their own homes, having a ramp, having a wheel and, a wheel and shower, that is very helpful. But for you to be able to get your own food, for you to be able to get to your own restroom, not when someone's not there, is like a really huge thing. We both come from rural areas, and you can get someone to help you like get your groceries once a week, and maybe they might help you meal prep just a little bit and take you to church or whatever, but they're not going to come in every day. There's no way. And so if you could get your own food, and for him to actually just wheel right up to the counter. Exactly, because this is a side table and it just pulls back. There, you can put your own stuff in the microwave. You can, because people don't think, okay, well, an older person, they can get soup. Okay, but when you're in a wheelchair, how do you get that hot soup from the wheelchair over to the table, or a bowl of cereal? I mean, that's easy, that's quick, right? Except for when you're in a wheelchair, and then you end up spilling it or burning it, and so it really will add, independence. I'm hoping for people, and because a lot of these other trays are actually considered restraints, you can't use them in long-term care facilities, but this you could.
Cool. So tell us what's next. Where are you at right now with the development? Is it ready to go as good as it's going to be? And now it's just a matter of trying to get it to the right stores. What is next?
Yeah, it's right. I mean, it's already, they're in boxes. Yeah, we have some in our garage. So we went to a plastic injection molder. The big thing with that is, if you're going to do 500,000 parts in a year, there's plastic injection molding places all over Michigan. The issue is if you're trying to do less than 50,000, which obviously we were, then you have to do like a prototyping type a factory. And we did find two, and they were very good. And we looked at the contracts, and for people who are trying to do inventions and everything, there's something called SCORE, Senior Core Retired Executives, and they're a free mentoring system, and I would highly, highly, highly suggest them.
I like the golden nugget here.
Here we go. SCORE. Senior, what was it again?
Senior Core of Retired Executives. I highly, highly recommend them. So I actually had three main people that I worked with. One was the operations guy, and I only met with him maybe 3 times, 4 times, right, over a 6-month time. So it's not like huge, investment. I sent thank you cards to all the people that worked with me. They aren't allowed to, accept gifts. But if they live close enough, I want to take them out for coffee. A couple of them are on the East Coast. So, more like 8. No, they're in like Baltimore, like it's a ways away. But the finances was another, and then I got a little bit of marketing help as well. But like the operations, another nugget, I guess, is I'd never dealt with a contract for plastic injection molding, and I wanted to talk to someone who had experience in that area. And so the tool and die guys, they are going to design the die from the file you give them, okay, and they are going to after they create it, right, then actually run the production line. And what he said to me was, he says, you want to be very careful that they do the design and creation, but add tooling in. Okay. The tooling is, and we did have one issue, and I'm glad I didn't have to take on that cost. So when you have the plastic injection molding, you have the stationary wall, and basically it's injection, right? Kind of like a shot, only it's hot liquid plastic, right? And it's being pumped through, okay? And this side stays the way it is. Then you have, so this is the stationary. You have the other side that actually comes across to it, and it presses out, right? And then it pops out. Now, on one of these sides, there's actually pins in the back, and it pops out the part, okay? But what they had done on one of these is they thought the part would just pop out, and so they'd made that on the stationary side, and there was no pins behind it, and it was having a problem popping out. So they had to figure that out, but at least I wasn't on the hook for that cost.
Okay,
right?
that's good.
This is not.
You had tooling built in to that.
Make sure that is in your contract, absolutely. And the other thing I would say too, and this really applies to a lot of patents. Okay, like when you're trying to inventors trying to bring stuff to market, you can at this time there are algorithms for you to test your product before you make your product. Okay. And you can actually stress test the files. And so what are the things you need for that? You need, obviously, I got a mechanical engineer because I wanted someone in a license. And they put it through, a computer simulation for stress testing. And you have to know what material you're using. So when you're doing plastic injection molding, you're like, oh, well, it's plastic. Oh, no.
What kind of lots of plastic.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot of additives that they add. So, and of course, I didn't know anything about any of that, right? And so there's ABS, which a lot of people use, but it's very shiny. If it's got scratched up, it would look bad. And, when you're looking at it all the time too and using it all the time, maybe not the greatest. And then, there's heat resistance, there's water resistance, right? That kind of thing.
UV resistance is another one that's going to be used outside. Yeah.
Right. If outside, right. And I think this is mostly inside, but yeah. Going through and looking at, parameters, like if you add a lot of sand, right? It does this. And if you add glass, it does this. And if you add, different things, and trying to find that balance point. So anyways, you do have to have that information. As long as you have that information, what they can do is go, weight pressure, right? Like, or force per square inch pressure, or temperature pressures, water, that kind of stuff. And so what we did is we had that done. And then what we figured would be the weak point was the weak point. And then I went back and I talked to some of the mold guys, and they're like, I says, is there any way we can do this? And like, oh, actually, if you use a pin here and did this. And I was like, great. And then I went back to my CAD guy. I was like, what I'd like to do is now distribute that weight. And I either want to make that wall then a little thicker or ribbing. And he said ribbing would be better. And we did that and we put it on. Oh my God, like that made it even better. And so we say it's good for 6 pounds. And because this is public, I'm not going to tell you how much it was. But it is extremely safe at 6 pounds is all I will say. And that, when you do things like crane operators, right? Let's say this is, rated for 10,000 pounds.
Yeah. But
maybe it actually can do 12, right?
Sure.
But they don't say 12 because then they would do 14 on it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. So you say 6, and we know it is very safe at that. My husband takes, half-gallon things of milk, throws it on the side, puts on his other stuff. But when we, and I would say this too, with any inventor. So there's that stress testing you can do. I don't know anyone, I know it's some money, but why wouldn't you put a drop in the bucket versus having the whole bucket and then go, oh crap, now I have this problem.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, and again, this is, I think before we even get to that point, user testing. So this whole 2 years, we did many different iterations, and my husband user tested everything. Okay. And so we had an idea, because I went to some people who use this kind of product, and they looked it over. And, one was like, well, maybe we shouldn't have a rim on it. Okay. So we did one that didn't have a rim on it, right? Doing 3D printing and stuff. And then the bowls and the plates would fall off. Right. So it might be easier to write maybe, but I also think that, at that point you could put a book on the inside of it and still write. You know what I mean? So it would still allow you to do that. And also, going out and talking to some people, I know it looks like a simple design, but it actually does slide in 2 different ways in 3 different directions. And and having it actually fit onto the wheelchair, there's 2 different types of diameter of pipe. So we actually have an insert in there so that you can pop it out or put it in. Okay.
Got it.
And
That's great.
those are ribbed. So you don't have to have like 6 different parts trying to hold them all together. No, they click into place and then you just put them together. Okay. So it's a little more, it's a little more elegant than, but it's a simple.
No, not at all. What's so interesting about this is, it is, a simple idea, but even simple ideas take, I can't imagine how many hours and, the money you've invested in this. It takes a lot of effort to get a simple product off the ground, right? That's safe, that's usable, that you can stand behind.
Yes. And that's, there's a few things that we did that we could have cheapened out on. And I guess if you are a business person, you would have done like, we could, and we looked at this, not that we're trying to cheapen out, but we are investing our own money. Okay. So we have no loans on this, but it is our money, and we've invested a pretty penny into it. Was tap screws. Right. So the tap screws on that clamshell, and it would definitely be great and everything. But, if you're, let's say, renting it and you want to pull it off and put it on somewhere else at that point, then would it be, now the business person would go, right, then they got to buy another one. Yeah. And it's like, but these people are on wheelchairs and you don't understand, like, they're unlimited incomes. And it's just, for us, I didn't feel that was right. And so we did, it's a little bit more money, but it's bolts and you can pull them out, put them on as many times as you like. But it's really meant that you could just leave it on there and just fold up the chair, put it in your car if you need to. You can use it you pull the tray out, because that's all it is you just pop the tray up. Okay. There isn't any.
Okay. Does the tray separate from the mount itself as well?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you just have, what you have is a clamshell with a hole in it, and that's always on the chair.
Comes right out.
And then you pop it off. If you look in that one picture where I'm on the couch, we actually have 2 different clamshells, and there are ones on both sides, and one is not in use. Okay. And the other one is actually holding. So if you go down to where it's on
that
the
makes
couch.
sense. And then is your idea then that you could sell multiple, mounts for this? If your customers have multiple chairs they use, one for outside, one in the house, that kind of thing?
Yes, they right now we don't have them, but I mean, if people started asking for them, I absolutely could, and I do have some extras that I could right now put into what we have right now. It looks really nice. It's in a nice, it's sustainable. It's all just cardboard, but it is very nice box. But I would just put it into like a
Great.
a vanilla envelope and send that out, and I could do that if we get because my husband, he does have 2 wheelchairs, and that way you don't have to buy a whole nother tray. You just buy another bracket system, and I actually have a completely different market in mind for this. And so I've developed a little something different for something else.
Look at
I don't get into
you.
that.
Now you're expanding,
Awesome.
So, but that's and I've been told that the molds for that will probably be $25,000 to $28,000. And that's just for that additional thing that you could use this with, and then that would apply to a different market. So what my husband and I have decided was we have to get profits from this before we can do that. And I feel like that's a larger market. And what we could do is I have other ideas for people in wheelchairs, but we have to pay this off. And then I'd have to be able to, have the plastic injection molding. And we did do 3D prints of this.
Mm-hmm.
The tray itself is too big. When we used just the 3D prints, it was okay for us, but it did slant. And when we got the plastic injection molding, it's just solid and it's much better. So
do you see yourself going for like a durable medical equipment route, trying to get all that certified?
So what this is an accessory, not a medical device.
Okay.
And there is the largest DME in Michigan is interested. When I talked to them, they said they would want a 50% markup.
Whoa.
That's what I said. If they wanted to maybe drop ship through me and have it be a 15% markup, I could do that.
Markup, you meaning from cost, for like actual profit.
So I have to make my money off this too. Okay. And the other thing is I have to back pay my molds, which is not cheap is all I'm going to say. And so I have a certain amount of money.
And you're manufactured here in the
Michigan.
US.
Yep,
right?
the boxes, everything is here in Michigan. So anywho, and if I did the kitting on the first 700, I did myself. My dad came.
Oh yeah, I've been there, done that. Don't want to do it again.
Yeah. So I mean, it was nice to hang out with my dad for those couple of days, but and then but a lot of it I did on my own, right? And but if we did this in the future, right, if I can get this off the ground, then that would be kitted. And I have 2 different places in Michigan that would do that as well.
Perfect.
So this is all U.S. stuff, but I also have to have a margin in there too. That let's say at this point I know the VA won't do it with this administration because they're laying everyone off and they're not doing anything for disabled or VA. But my hope had been there had been someone else we'd be doing stuff for our vets. And if they wanted to have, let's say they were to buy 500 or something, that I would, obviously they want a discount, but they still have to be able to make my profit margin. Right. Sure. So that's where I was hoping maybe I could do drop shipping through that DME. And so I was going to go back to them, but they were interested in it. And the largest wheelchair sitting clinic here in Michigan. So another fun fact here, my husband had multiple PEs at the end of November and almost died. And so people in wheelchairs are very highly prone to, you can look at life insurance and trying to get life insurance if you're permanently in a wheelchair a lot of times you can't get it. So, and here's just something just on the side, anybody who is in a wheelchair, look into, talk to your doctor about possibly taking baby aspirin or something in general because of the clotting events, because you're constantly sitting, to try to reduce a heart attack, clot in the heart, stroke, clot in brain, or PE, which is pulmonary embolism, clot in your lung. And he was very lucky that he actually lived. And through that process, we had went to this wheelchair sitting clinic, and they seen it. He came in and he was saying his name, whatever. And as soon as they asked for his date of birth, they actually looked at him and they're like, "What is that? Where'd you get that? Did you get that Amazon?" And he's like, "Well, no, we have it." "No, where did you get it?" I'm like, "No, we made it. It's in our garage." And then for the next 15 minutes, they're picking it up and moving it, and like we've never seen anything like that. This is really cool. And
That's awesome.
Another thing is the OTs that looked at it were like, because of the pocket in the front where you can have everything, a lot of silverware, it lays down. And from an OT standpoint, when you do this, that is way harder than doing this. And so that having the stand up silverware allows for people to be able to feed themselves for longer.
Yeah.
But definitely feedback. So if I were to say anybody doing an invention, get feedback, actually go out and have people using it. So we actually made that pocket wider so it would be big enough for enlarged silverware,
Smart.
right? Which I thought wasn't to that point that he needed enlarged silverware, just regular silverware. So I'd put regular silverware in it, right? And it's a small thing, but once you plastic injection mold it and get the dies, right, you're kind of stuck. And so, there's a number of different things. And so user test, go to stress testing, get that done. And then you can assess and optimize your design before it's created. When you go to your contract, make sure you add tooling into that. Definitely go to SCORE. They're very, very helpful people, and it's all NDA, right? So they are not telling anybody what you're doing. And because, like the finance part of this and stuff, there's a Ken. Thank you, Ken. Shout out to him. He's really awesome. But those would be my little...
Those are wonderful gold nuggets. I do have a question. I mean, this is a patent show. Let's talk patents for just a little bit.
Yep.
You talked about how this tray evolved, over time, getting feedback, tweaks here and there, right? Modifying adding different ribs and making it more structurally sound. Does it match what you got a patent on?
So the original provisional patent I got, we made way too many changes to it for that to apply. So then we actually got another one.
Okay.
And put that in. And so that's what we have on it right now.
So you're still pending. You filed a new provisional because the original, as filed, you deviated so far from that. You file a new one.
Yeah. We did. We made quite a few changes because my husband would be like, well, this is nice, but I like this. And so I'd add it. And he'd be like, no, I know it does this, but I'd really like if he did this. And there was one time where he went up to the counter and before that, again, there was no changing it or using it when you're standing. None of them. The flip, you have to flip it out of the way and then you can't use it. Okay. And so for him, that was still a big thing. He's like, what I'd really like is I'm not 8 or 10 inches away from that, countertop. I think it was actually like 12 inches. And because you're leaning, right, and having these issues. And so then I did something different on the bottom. I was like, oh, the Cadillac, I want that. Let's 3D print it. And so I went and I bought a few things and I'm putting it underneath and I'm like, oh, and then he's like, well, no, if you got to do metal, that'll be too expensive. And so I'm like, how do I do it plastic? Oh, we can do this, And then I talked to my CAD guy and he made one small change to it. And he's like, you'd have to detach it because just understanding. And here's something else. If you're doing plastic injection molding, and this is one of the things when I looked for CAD guys to hire, I did not want someone who had, let's say, 4 years of CAD work and who had never worked in the industry. And I don't care if you're doing metal fab or woodworking, or in this case, it was plastic injection molding. I wanted someone who actually worked with the plastic injection molding because a file is nice, but if you have to modify the hell out of it later, you're spending a lot of hours and therefore money to correct. And can you even use it at that point? And so I made sure when I was doing my interview process that I had a guy and he had, over 20 years. He is awesome. And by the way, side note, 6 months in, I realized he's a relative. He's in a different state. So I on my dad's side, far, like some third or fourth cousin or something.
Wait, are you from Upper Michigan or Lower Michigan?
You know what? I have a certain hand signal I would like to say to you right now, but it's probably not that kind of show. I'm not from Crystal Falls, no. So he's he ends up being like a third cousin or something. I'm like, that's
funny.
Like a
I love that
on the side. But he's awesome. Like I cannot say enough nice things. And when I went to the plastic injection molding place, we ended up talking about CAD guys. I'm like, I have the best CAD guy. And he's like, oh no, we used to have the best CAD guy here. And I was like, I hate to say it, like mine really is really good. And he's like, no, seriously, ours was the best. And he's like, and he said his first name. I'm like, do you mean? And I said my last name. He's like, he used to work there. So just small. World is small. But here's the thing. When I would talk to him, I would say, okay, I want to do this. And he'd say, I know where the pins are going to go in that. And I'd rather put them over here because that'll be a usable design. And I'm like, that is exactly why I hired you. Yes.
Awesome.
And so,
you don't want someone who's going to take your order, right? You want someone who's going to take your ideas and execute, right? Improve them, make them functional.
Well, the functional part. And so I think when you just have a CAD guy or woman who just does that and doesn't understand where pins go and how it's pressurized and how it works, then the design has to be completely retweaked. And is it then still going to be functional? Because even where the bolts go and everything, those are only certain areas that those can be put in.
Sure.
And so so I'm just saying at multiple different times, that extra knowledge when you're doing the interviewing to actually have someone who understands what you're working in is, I think, very valuable.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, I want to thank you for sharing your story and your invention with us and our audience, both live and post-production. I always ask this of our guest, if you're willing to, if anybody was inspired or is inspired by you, you want to share your email address for them to reach out to you directly?
Yeah. Contact us at lesbarriers.com. Just contact us at lesbarriers.
And it is Mrs. Schneider. Okay. Contact us at lesbarriers.com. Very cool.
Now, I have a question for you guys.
Please.
And I think I talked a little bit to you about this before we came in here, JD. So I had heard that there is this Nordic country, and they actually have a database. And when you submit your patents and you get a patent number for it, and you get a generic category to which that is applied, that if someone else wants to, let's say, have a TV, and it's different than all these other TVs, and so they submit their application. You can't see, it's not public domain to see what those patent specs are. You can only see the generic categories. And then someone goes in, and that way you can't just look at someone else's sketches and go, okay, I'm going to change this and change this and change this. Now, all of a sudden, it's enough changes that it's my own patent. Is there like something like that you guys advocate for, that, because if there's more legal protection for the people getting the patents? Because for a small person like, a small business like me, I already have a lot invested, and I don't have, $30,000 laying around. And then if someone does steal it, I don't have the money to litigate it in court. So, it almost opens you up for more. So I'm just wondering from your end, is there, just like there's OT groups that, go out and advocate, or nurse groups, right, that advocate for nurses having, better quality of life, or medical lab technologists, because we definitely need more, work-life quality. Do you guys, as patent attorneys, are there things that you're trying to do to give better protections to people who apply for and get patents?
It's interesting.
JD? This is a JD question.
Well, and you and I did talk about this one-on-one. I mean, and I'll probably have the same answer here. And Matt is a trademark attorney. I'll make sure you understand that.
Okay.
Although he's quite knowledgeable of IP and can speak to other areas too. So it sounds like what you're looking for, what you're asking about is, hey, I want to be able to file for a patent application and get rights, and I don't want my whole invention to get published.
Right. So you don't have all your specs. Like, it'd be, here's the title of it. Here's maybe a generic, 3-sentence of what it does. And then if someone has a problem with it, they're like, oh, well, I have something that's kind of like that, they could apply. And then a person in the background would look at them both and go, sorry, this is pretty much the same thing as what's already out there. Or go, there's enough difference. And at that point, then maybe you could say, okay, we're going to, look at this and say, is there enough differences, and go through your process. But it's not like, everything's laid bare, because especially like China too, they really don't care about your IPs. They don't. And unless you go through their IP first, you don't have any legal recourse with them. So I really feel like that's another reason too, in this very global economy where, we have those things going on in the background. It's another reason why I had the plastic injection molding done here, because I'd heard of a number of different people who did the plastic injection molding in China, and they would make a second mold, or they would just part of the time use it to make their own product and undersell you. Part of the reason I don't want to go to Amazon, because of the monopoly type system. If something is selling really well, they will make it and undercut you, which I feel is definitely monopoly laws that we should be which Linda Khan in the last administration was trying to take care of, but now she's not there. I just would like more, is there any kind of, from your industry as an association? Yeah. Because I feel like more people would do it if they're,
I don't know, Ms. Schneider, though. I think, people get patents to make money. People get patents to make money. That is their reward. It's a financial reward. And to get that money, you have to be able to teach everyone what you've discovered, what you've come up with. That is the exchange.
Well, I think that's this exchange after your patent has come up. And once it is no
Come
longer,
up. What do you mean come up?
so like, let's say you have a drug company, right? And your patent is good for this many years. And after that many years, then a generic can come in. And I agree with that.
Expired, you mean expired?
Yeah. When a patent, I think they get, isn't it 7 years for that?
20 years. 20 years. So,
okay. So after 20 years, then a generic can come in. But I also know some of them try tweaking, like, a non-active ingredient and then saying it's something different, which it isn't.
Oh, I see where she's going with this.
But
yeah.
But that's my thing is, you don't have to give out the whole, do you know what I mean? Like, don't give away the cow. And
no way. I disagree. I very, very politely, I'm so sorry. I have to disagree completely. My perspective is the whole invention has got to be published so that everyone knows, they're put on notice of what they're not allowed to do, but they get told how to do it. So they're in their lab and they can go, okay, I'm tinkering. I know how to make this even better if I add this. And I can act, this is different. And then you take one step. We all stand on top of each other's shoulders. If you wait 20 years before you tell everyone how to do it, well, now we're 20 years behind. We've been in the dark. And you're kind of in this period where it's like, gosh, we didn't learn anything in 20 years. Ouch. And innovation slows. So I think that's the policy argument against what you're suggesting.
I think with medication that maybe that is slightly different, but I think for the generic population of patents, I'm just saying from a small business perspective to put 30,000. I don't want to say all this. This is your bread and butter, and I'm not trying to.
This is a great conversation. I love it.
But I think that if they were to do something like that, where you say, hey, this is the general name, this is the general description. If you are doing something similar, then the person in the background could look at them and go, not enough differences. Sorry. And if there are enough differences, okay, then we're giving you we're giving you a separate patent. But specifically because of the Chinas and everything out there, where they'll just steal what you have right now, and they do not care. And you've already put all this money into it. For you to just, here's the recipe of take it and screw me over, and now I get nothing. You see what I'm saying?
I think the recipe's good. They have the recipe out there because it allows you to enforce it. If someone's going to iterate on your existing design, then they're going to have to pay a royalty. But I think also, Ms. Schneider, what could help with this would be potential patent insurance, right? Patent litigation insurance, right, for infringement purposes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
JD knows a lot more about than I do.
Yeah, they're insurance for everything, and intellectual property assets are included. You can get insurance for, obviously, before infringement pops up, any future infringement, and so the insurers will take a look at your patent claims. They'll hire patent attorneys or have attorneys on their team and put a number. Yes, we will issue a policy. And give you some assurance that if this is infringed, that you'll have a war chest to go up against even a big guy or gal that decides to just rip it off and say, come get me. So there's ways to do that. We talked in a previous question, I think today, about patent trolls, and they will be happy to litigate. They litigate all day long and settle cases. So you, as the inventor, could sell to a troll and fill the copies.
I've never heard of patent insurance, by the way. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a cool topic. We don't offer insurance within Bold, but I've got a couple of good referrals. If you're interested, we could chat.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you for being on. And any other questions you've got? You've got good questions there.
I like making things better, right? And if you can protect people, I really like that too. There's a lot of things I feel like I'm just going to say this on the side, just because it's one of my pet peeves in life. For keeping people safe, when you go to your doctor, because I have a medical lab science background, which is like every ology under the book, and plus, yeah. So I have a medical paper that I wrote, and it was in regards to Crohn's and Remicade. And when you go to your doctor and you get these normal values that the doctor gives you, and a lot of times the doctors won't know this, those are accurate values that the lab gives you. However, they are not based on a healthy subset of the population. They are not a standard of care. They are based on 95% of the people in one area, and they change over time and location. And if your location is sick, or it's at a time when more people are sick, that is a sick range, not a healthy range. And so, things like, and I put this out free on my LinkedIn page, there's a little PowerPoint, and it has the PubMed research, right? And here's the citations. that, if we were to have our vitamin D levels at 52 or higher, we could reduce breast cancer in half, colorectal cancer in half, RA by 38%, MS by 62%. And if you already have those autoimmune diseases, you reduce disease activity. In the state of Michigan, you would have to be in the top 5% of the population to get those health benefits. Now, you'd also want to take with K2, just as a side note, to get the calcium out of your blood. But my point is there are a lot of things that could be healthy and help people more. I just wish maybe the government might help people who are just starting and they have really good ideas that could help a lot of people. Like, I thought I could get some assistance for, I'm a woman. This is wheelchair. We both have this, I have Crohn's. He has MS. But there's like nothing out there. And so, when you have the cost of the plastic injection molding and all these other things to do the legal on top of that is it's challenging.
Okay.
Is there any help for that? I guess that would be my question.
So yes, I mean, Matt mentioned patent insurance. That's one option. You can also get investor money, private investment, in look to share some equity of your company with those that are familiar with litigation, or at least have some deeper pockets and the ability to help you position it the right way.
Yeah, I think an invention like this, I mean, I see you bringing it to market, having some initial success, and then bringing on a larger entity who can really scale, right? Who can take the success that you've had and bring that support and that product and that help to, a large amount of Americans and people all over the world. That's ultimately, I think that's what success looks like, for this product long term.
Well, like I said, I have this other market. It's a larger market with more disposable income, but I was hoping that could supplement the income for making these other things for other people who have these, because I do have some other ideas for that, but it takes some seed fund. And I would think there'd be more seed fund for wheelchairs and for helping people, but I just have not found any. Like, I applied to quite a few places and no one answered back. And so.
Interesting. Well, have you talked to, or have you reached out? There's a YouTuber called Jerry Rig Everything. Do you know that YouTuber at all?
His wife, he makes the stuff for his wife. I just seen that. And,
Yeah, I think I would reach out to those two and just pick their brains, because I'm sure they're very well integrated into this community as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some digging, and honestly, a lot of my recent digging is ChatGPT. It's incredible in terms of like companies that do wheelchair accessory companies, funding, specifically Michigan. I'll do some digging for you and see if I can come up with anybody out there on the community. You're welcome to help Ms. Schneider as well. I think what you're doing is awesome, certainly for your husband, but for anyone else with a similar condition. It's really an inspiring story. Someone else was inspired too. Jonathan shared he was inspired. I too am. So again, thank you for sharing with us your story here today. And for Matt and I and Bold Patents, wishing you all a great week. We'll see you next time on the Bold Inventor Show. Go big, go bold.
Go big, go bold at boldip.com.